This is Chit Chat That with John and Stefan.
Welcome y'all back to Chit Chat That. I'm Stefan.
I'm John.
And we're here to chit chat that. And we're going to continue on with our polls that we've had on Twitter for the last little while.
Yeah, I like the poll scenario. We're not having to talk about like customer service the whole time. We got to talk about like random things.
It's true. It changes quite a bit.
But some things we like. It'd be hard to talk about customer service on a poll. It's like, do you like customer service?
It's like, of course
yes
I
or
do,
no?
because I'm the customer. Or if you're on the other end, no, I hate customer service because I happen to help those people.
All right, so we already covered sandwich.
We did that one. Now
I did
we're
my
on
speed talking through it.
I know, it was pretty good. And there was, sandwiches are good. That was the conclusion of that podcast. And now we're on to this one.
I make a sandwich out of everything. If I have meat potatoes in a roll, I'll put the meat in the roll and dip it in the potatoes.
I heard from one of a kid, he was talking about his family. They would actually put the mashed potatoes in the dough of the roll and cook it already inside it. Yeah, I know. Like, seriously. I was like, I've heard of people like, ripping open a roll and then putting a potato in it and eating it. And I'm like, that's cool. I tried it and I actually didn't mind it. It was pretty good. But to actually have the mashed potato.
I tried it.
It was pretty good. But the mashed potato inside the dough and cooking it with it was pretty intense to me. I was like,
if I make
you can do that?
French bread, instead of regular salt, I'll put like garlic salt in it.
I thought there were rules to this.
A garlic flavor to it.
In the potatoes?
No, in rolls, in the French bread.
You'll put garlic in the French bread?
Like, did you ever eat my tri-tip sandwich?
Nope. I guess I have.
But that's like the sandwich bread. I make a French bread, but I put garlic salt in it, so it has like a little bit of a garlic taste.
Wait a minute. So you're cooking the French bread with the garlic inside?
Mm-hmm.
So it's still in its dough form. It hasn't been cooked at all yet.
Yeah, I just, like, when you're putting all the stuff in, you put it in the mixer, and it mixes up the dough.
Okay, then you'll just throw that inside
I just put the garlic salt in it.
Okay, that doesn't sound like it's a problem.
Yeah, it's good.
It's for some reason.
Also put those onion flakes in them, too. Those are good.
Onion flakes have been hit or miss with me. It depends on what I put it in. Sometimes I put it in, and it doesn't come out as good as I was expecting. Other times I put it in, it's like, that was just what this needed. That was great. So that's just, I don't know.
I can put it almost anything, and it'll be good.
I got a phone call. Just hold for a moment. Sorry, everybody on Chit Chat That. It was my wife, so I might have to pause for just a couple more seconds. Don't worry about a thing. It's always an adventure.
We just edit this out unless we forget. It's
that's
super
right.
awkward.
Well, that's not super awkward. It's just like, hey, everybody, this is the most live podcast you'll ever listen to.
Yeah, it doesn't get realer than this.
No, it's like our lives are going on right now.
Mm-hmm. And then I have that urge to pick up my phone and start like texting or jumping on Twitter. I'm not. I'm just gonna sit here and chill like the good old days.
Right? Yeah. Talk to our chit chatters.
All right, chit chatters. I don't have anything to say when it's one-on-one. I can't talk to you like I talk to Stefan. It's just not that easy. I do want to say that it'd be really cool if people like commented on polls. That would make this a lot easier. I wouldn't even be afraid to have like one of you guys call us and we'd have you on the podcast. That'd be cool. But
that would be cool. And I agree with John on this. And now we'll take a moment to inhale and exhale. And now we're going to go back to our poll. And we were talking about bread with spices in it.
Yeah, we can skip past that. Good. That's a dead horse. We can go into how you spend your Saturdays.
Ooh.
So the poll had sleep in, go out to breakfast, eat cereal and watch tunes, exercise. I would say this changes on your age. When you're a little kid, it's eat cereal and watch tunes.
Are there that many little kids?
A teenager and a young adult, and it's sleep in. And then midlife is maybe exercise, and then when you're old, you go out to breakfast.
Did anyone go out to breakfast though? I don't see any
No.
percentages on that one.
We don't have a lot of midlife people. So anyways,
so how do you spend your Saturdays? Well, people on Twitter spend it eating cereal and watching tunes, and then
chores.
the rest just sleep in.
I spend mine doing chores.
You don't do chores
all the time.
You don't got chores.
It's like when I'll mow the lawn, do stuff out in the garden.
Okay, you do have stuff you have to do. Well,
see my family.
No one really does things on Saturdays anymore.
Yeah, I think Saturdays and Sundays, like it used to be the weekends everybody had off, but nowadays
everyone's open Saturday and Sunday.
There's no discrimination against days; they're all equal. And Walmart even said that when they got rid of like the Sunday pay.
Yeah,
they're like, Sunday's just another day. And they almost said it just like that too.
Oh, that's so lame when they did that.
Yeah.
They need, we actually need to make a special day. There has to be a day of the week that's special. Because right now it's just the weekend, but the weekend doesn't feel special anymore. Because it feels like every other day.
Yeah.
Everyone's, working or doing the exact same thing they do those days.
My special days are when my shows are on.
I know, but see, there's got to be a day though, like a day for everybody, like regardless of the show, regardless of what's going on. It's like everybody in this country, it is this day of the week. Celebrate and feel free.
Well, I've talked about like with the whole new ideas of work, where like we're working way too much and things like that,
and productivity.
I could see that. We need more breaks. We need more time to like go be people, interact, and
that's what it.
Well, then you see all these people interacting, and you're like, oh,
we don't need to interact anymore. Well, we only see the weirdos interacting because they're.
That's what shows up. That's what we want to watch. We're focusing just on the bad stuff and not seeing the mundane everything else.
We're gonna have to go move to the hills for Saturday. So Saturday,
eat cereal and watch tunes.
Yeah, that's what everyone will do, and you can join
sleep
them.
in is the other 33. I would love to sleep in. Once you get kids, you can't sleep in.
No, and it's irritating.
Unless you have your spouse watch the kids while you sleep in. But then there's that guilt.
Or unless your spouse sleeps while you have to get the kids. No, I'm not saying anything. I love my wife. I love her. I love her so much.
But sometimes you got to give and take. I sleep in this week. You sleep in next week.
Oh, she sleeps in. I'm not going to say much more. Otherwise, I'll be probably having to live in this basement.
The last podcast ever.
Yeah, this will be the last one. No, actually, she's good. But it's funny, though, because I usually am the one in the mornings to make breakfast. Mm-hmm. Which it makes sense though, because she's up all night. So there's the give and take right there.
But it makes sense though, because she didn't sleep at all, and I did.
Well, define sleep. It's one of those things. Like as soon as she gets out,
either person. Like
no,
we definitely sleep better, but
we don't move as much. That's about it. We're still awake. We're just laying there listening to the crying kid and the wife trying to put them down, and you're just like, is it gonna stop? How long is it gonna be before she says, get up, I need your help?
Yeah.
And then finally when it goes quiet, you're like, oh good. And then it feels like you just doze off before someone, one of the other ones.
And then you look up, it's like, it's already 6.
Yeah, it's like, dang it. Yeah, I woke up literally 1 minute before my alarm went off once. I was so upset.
Like, I wanted that extra minute.
Yeah, I was like,
it makes a big difference.
It can. Well, especially when it's like your internal clock that wakes you up and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be awake. And I look at my clock, I'm like, no, I'm not. Anyway.
This actually ties into the last poll, so we can skip to that one.
You don't want to do the other one?
Snooze? We'll come back.
Oh, okay. That sounds good.
But how often do you snooze your alarm? And 38% said 0. Liars. And then 0% said 1. And 62% said too many.
You just said 0% said 1. Why do we even mention it?
Yeah, who only snoozes it once?
No.
I think you either don't or you do, and if you do it until you have to get up.
Right.
I'll set my alarm earlier just so I can snooze it, which doesn't make any sense. But I'm like, I know I'm going to do it. I can't set it for when I have to wake up because I'm going to snooze it and then I'll be late.
Yeah, I actually do the same thing.
You have to.
I hit it a lot. Like I'll sit there and snooze it. I don't do it as much with the iPhone I have right now. I don't know why. It's not as
I've
easy. I
I have
usually
to
just
turn
sleep
off
through
3
it.
alarms.
Oh yeah,
If
yeah.
I
But
accidentally instead of snooze, I like turn it off.
yeah,
I gotta have 2 backups,
I do the same thing.
and they're like spaced like a half an hour apart from each other.
That's exactly right.
So I'm like already planning I'm gonna snooze for like an hour and a half.
yeah, it's like 6:37, 7:30.
Which what I should just do is not snooze at all and just have that last one, that last
Right.
backup be it. But I'll snooze it.
I do
'Cause
it all the time.
Half awake John is so convincing. Like I'll put thoughts into my head about reasons I need to go back to sleep that don't make any sense. I'm like, oh, but it's okay because chili is brown. And then like half asleep John's like, yeah, that makes sense. You probably should. Chili is brown. You need to sleep just a little bit longer.
Maybe it's such a boring thing. It's like chili's brown. It just takes you right out. It's like counting sheep, but you're counting chili.
And then you wake up again and you're like, why did I go to sleep? I wasn't supposed to.
You know, see, this is the funny thing. You convince yourself to sleep. I try and convince myself to wake up, but I'm like, nah. like,
You're like, come on,
I should
you
probably
really
get
gotta
up.
do
Yeah,
this.
it's like I need to get up. I need to do some stuff, and then it's over. And then I just don't wake up.
Imagine making alarm clocks that didn't have a snooze. Like an alarm clock, we had to like.
Oh, did you hear? I told you about the one, right? The app
Probably.
alarm clock. The alarm clock that was a charity alarm clock.
Mhm.
So every time you hit snooze, you would donate to a charity. Like you'd
I'd
have
lose
to.
all my money.
Yeah, you attach your credit card to it. So every time you hit snooze, you would donate. It's like there would be some very charitable people who hit. We would be charitable people. It's like I bankrupted
Not on
myself.
purpose.
Yeah, I'm all bankrupt.
I'd
Because
probably
of
just
that.
throw away the clock or
yeah.
get rid of the app.
Yeah, I'd be like, this is stupid.
I was like, I wasted $20
That's more than I want.
first morning because I snoozed it 20 times.
Yeah, that would suck. I would not do that. So a lot of people snooze their alarms, which that actually goes with the sleep in that people do on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
Although what's funny about the sleep in and eat cereal and watch tunes is those probably go together. They probably sleep in first, then when they wake up, they eat cereal and watch tunes.
And then all of a sudden it's 2 p.m. And
yeah,
they're like, ugh. And then at night they're like, I can't sleep. It's like, I did nothing all day.
yeah.
But
That's probably why I get upset. No, sorry. Another thing. No.
so I think sleep is something that everyone loves to do, but never does it enough. They always put it off, and you stay
Right.
up late and like, oh, I can do this, and then you put off sleep. But we don't give it like it's due. But like when we're sleeping, we're like, this is awesome.
Why is it so hard to get to sleep? Some people, I think it comes really easy.
Well, I think a lot of it is being able to calm yourself down or turn off your brain. So a lot of people with like anxiety or things like that, they have a hard time falling asleep. Or they have a lot of stimulants around them, or they have too many stimulants they put in their body throughout the day. I think.
So you're talking about chemicals, not just like brain stimulants, like watching TV.
Yeah. So those as well. So that was the first one, and then the stimulants you put into your body would be like chemicals.
Oh,
So if you had coffee, because coffee stays in your system pretty long, and so you get rid of the caffeine, but there's still traces in it throughout the day. So, and then also I think a lot of people don't get on good sleep habits. So like we said on Saturday, some people sleep in, they're actually messing up their internal clock. And so they're not on a set schedule. But if you did, no matter what, Monday through Sunday, I'm going to wake up at 6 and go to bed at 10. Over time, your body's just going to get used to that. So at 10, we start putting ourselves to
go
sleep.
to bed at 6? You said go to bed at
Go
10.
to bed at 10, wake up at 6.
Oh, okay. I think you said go to bed at 6 and wake up at 10.
That would be awesome.
Maybe I missed that.
Yeah, and I listened to our Reese's.
Oh, yeah. It says Reese's.
It says Reese's, and I just did it again, and I didn't mean to. Reese's. Reese's is how I say it. And then I was listening to it, I was like, why am I saying it wrong every single time? I don't know.
It's just the way it works, you know.
I don't know.
It's anyway. So at what level do you think your actions will make a difference?
So, if I had to pick one, I put just myself.
I think that's actually where I put myself.
Start. Is like if we want something to change, we got to do it ourselves.
Right.
Like we can't just rely on, the world's going to get better. We got to start doing things to make the world a better place. But I felt like it kind of went in steps. So, you start with yourself in your community. You get your community on board, then your community helps impact, the nation, and the nation help impacts the world.
Right.
So I felt like it builds on itself. We can't just start with, we're not going to be doing any change or anything good. Not going to have any impacts until the world is involved. I think it starts with the individual.
I think that's exactly where I would put it too, where it's, you would have to change
Not what Twitter thought, but
what?
It wasn't what Twitter thought.
No, Twitter's
the world
weird. Yeah, well, I don't know how many people voted on that, but yeah, 2 people I think were just being silly. Maybe it's the same people that watch Tunes and eat cereal. Anyway, but yeah, it makes more sense that it would affect yourself first, because until you change your own habits and daily routine, nothing's going to change.
Maybe they're just thinking like big picture, like when is that change actually like significant? But I feel like with just yourself, it's significant to those people that
see you
and got to see the good, and then have an impact on your actions.
Yeah, and that's just the way I think it goes. That's for sure.
I was just saying, I just start opening the door for people, which I do anyways. I was like trained to as a little kid, so now it's just second nature. But you did some good for those people you held the door open for. Some people don't think twice about it, but some people are like, oh, that was nice.
Other people are like, you male chauvinist. How dare you degrade me by holding the door open?
So
it's like, oh, sorry. Didn't mean somebody, to be polite. Excuse me.
And I was about to give up who they were, but you know who you are. They were on a date and they said they got mad at their date because they opened the door, and it's like, oh, I could do it myself. Like, and I was like, it was like a second date. And I was like, well, it was only the second date. Like, give him a chance. Like, he was just being polite, And then if they don't do it, then they're wrong too. So
right, it's horrible. It's like unless you're a statue, and even then they just stick their gum on you if you're a statue. It's like you can't win. It's horrible. Anyway, that's another poll maybe for another time. It's like where is the difference between being polite and actually being rude? Like, I don't know. I know cultures are different, but right now the culture is so muddied.
Because I'm starting to change my perspective on things. Like, there's a lot of things that I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to say anything because that'd be rude. But now I'm kind of getting to the point where it'd be rude not to say something. Like, we were at this work conference, and the lady's zipper on her dress busted open, and it was showing her scandalous underwear.
She couldn't feel it.
And it was like that. And so as soon as I noticed, I don't know how long it was there. It'd probably been there for a while, but like I went up and I was like, hey, like, this is kind of awkward to say, but like, if it was me, I wanted somebody to tell me, but your zipper broke on the back of your skirt and it's showing everything, which I would have never said this before until like this last year or two, where I've kind of switched my mentality on it. And so I was like, if it was me, I would want to know.
Well, what happened though? Was she grateful,
or
did
like,
she find you?
Thank you. I had no idea. She's like, that's so embarrassing. And she like went and bought a pair of jeans because it was just like a work thing. Oh. And so she came back like an hour later in jeans.
Well, there you go.
And then I was like, sorry, guys. I know she's been gone. So I made an announcement to everyone that I saw her underwear and like I had to tell her. Just kidding. No, I didn't.
Okay. I'm like, that may have been a little much. I want to tell everybody because I know I would have wanted everyone to know. Yeah, that would have been messy.
But like in the pharmacy too, like if somebody has something hanging out their nose, like I'll tell them. Or before I just would have been like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not affected by it.
I always try and find a heart. Like, well, I went through like a whole thing. I was at a company and I was helping them with something, and my fly was down the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
Nobody
find
says
out.
anything.
No one says anything. I was sitting there. I left. And
you can put on the sex offender list for that kind of stuff. Like you should. Somebody should tell you. You should probably tell somebody XYZ.
No, but it was horrible because afterwards my friend was there, and he was there during the whole little thing I was helping him with, and I was like, I realized afterwards I'm outside of the building, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my fly's down. And I zipped out. I was like. And I texted him like, I'm so sorry. I just noticed my fly's down. He's like, that's okay. We figure that's just the way you roll. like
whatever.
Yeah. I'm like, well, that sucks. I ended up not getting a job there. So that was probably could have been a reason.
Well, I think sometimes too, like, I'm not to the point yet where if somebody says something stupid, I'll be like, that was really stupid of you to say.
Oh, really?
I might call them out and be like, that's kind of inconsiderate. Like, I'll say stuff like that and call people out.
Maybe that wasn't the right time.
My mother-in-law's really good at it, and she's like nice about it. And I think that's the big thing. Like, is I'd be nice about anything I said like that.
It's the tactfulness.
In fact, that's my tactful. Intern that I had today that went to school with Daniel, that's when she complimented him. She's like, he's really good. Like, there's some people would say some stuff and it's like, that's not right. But Daniel would find a way to let him down easy. Like, that's a really good way to think about it. I think what they're looking for, though, is something more on these lines, like phrasing it. And I'm like, you idiot, it's this. I don't like that approach.
That's the only
people
approach I have. That's why I try not to say anything.
Call people stupid. I'm like, that's maybe.
I've noticed when confrontations happen, I get really quiet. Everyone's like, is he okay?
I get giggly. I do. When my parents would yell at me as a kid, I'd start laughing.
I tried not to because I knew it'd make them better.
And I laughed really hard. I was like, I was so mad at the time that like I wasn't the giggly thing. I was in my chin trembling. If I'm really mad, my chin like shakes. It's only happened like twice.
Oh, wow.
But this was a time. She called me one, and my little brother started laughing, and then I started laughing. And that didn't go over very well.
No, it usually doesn't. When all the kids start laughing at you when you're trying to be serious.
It happens now. I have no authority.
I know all the kids laughing. You're like, don't you understand?
But I'd rather them have a sense of humor. I mean, if they were laughing like they smacked their sister in the face and thought it was funny, like, I'd lay down the law. But if it's something silly that...
Yeah, there's some senses of humors that aren't really humor. It's just... bad sense.
Yeah, like I'm not really in for the humor that's mainly just being a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's funny. I like witty humor. Feel good humor. I still like
but
sometimes
Lou
jerk
Costello.
Things. Wasn't it? No, that's not Abbott and Costello.
What?
What's the one that would like joke about punching his wife straight to the moon? Jackie Gleason?
Okay, I have no idea what that is, but that sounds very abusive.
Yeah, and it was like back in the day, and like see that now, and you're like, that's messed
actually,
up.
I don't know. Well, it could be funny because I think humor. Well, I don't know how that one was presented, but some humor is just raunchy or gruesome and just dumb.
Well, like bullying, when people are bullying people, all their friends are sitting there
laughing,
giggling, and thinking it's funny. But like, no, that stuff makes me feel bad. Like, I don't like putting people down. And
I think humor has to have an element of that everyone can relate to a degree. Mm-hmm. I mean, even though you can relate, you may not find it, super funny. Mm-hmm. But I think that's where comedy comes from. I remember hearing that one.
Especially, I think stand-up has a lot of that.
Yeah.
That's where you can complain about something that everyone has to deal with.
Yeah. Like I think comedy comes from the fact that, there's a relatability and it's looking at us as, the imperfect people and humans that we are and just being able to laugh at it. Some people find other things more funny than others, but at least they all come from the same pool of, we're imperfect and that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Kind of like our daylight savings time.
Deep, man.
Yeah, I know. It's like I just got to a level.
And what's crazy about the daylight savings time is I was really wanting to research this more before I talked about it, because we don't research anything before we talk, which you probably should.
But this is chit chat, man. Yeah, it probably would make
chitting and chatting.
What do you ever research something when you just go chit chatting about it?
No.
Right. You just start spouting out stuff of.
This is water cooler talk.
Yeah,
this is
the only sources that we have are they, them.
My buddy Kevin, he said.
Yeah. Or not even that. We just say, well, they say. It's like, who's that? I don't know. The headline that I read, like caterpillars that eat plastic. That must be real. I'm not
sure where that came from.
Yeah, but they say that's where plastic's going.
And then you actually click on the article and read it, and it has nothing to do with caterpillars or plastic.
Right. It's about some sale on shoes.
Yeah. So daylight savings, keep it, do away, and no difference. 20% says keep it. 80% says do away. Nobody voted for no difference. I am a do away with. I was looking into it very briefly. I read the reasons for it, and none of it makes sense to me. Because I just view it.
Not
It's
even
time.
a little bit.
Who cares? The
I care about
daylight
time.
or the sun is going to rise at a
set when it
certain
does.
moment, whether it's 7 a.m. or 8 a.m., it doesn't make a difference. So I think like the theory behind it was to take an hour from the morning and put it to the evening so you had more time after work to do things. I've heard like other things with farmers and things like that, but this
Right.
was like the one that made the most sense to me.
Hmm.
But then in the other season, you're pretty much taking an hour of after work and putting it before. So like in the end,
Who wins?
yeah, there's no way to go.
Yeah, I don't see the point of switching it either, especially since, like you said, it's like the sun is going to rise and set when it rises and sets, regardless of what we change our clocks to.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the point was or what it does. I know the only thing that bugs me about it is that it's confusing and to remember when to do it. It's like just to have a single, just to set the times and say, hey, daylight savings is over. Would be so much simpler for everybody. So it's like, every day you wake up, you go to bed, and, the sun will rise and set at different times, but it's not going to make a difference.
So that would be one of several reasons I'd move to Arizona. Arizona, I love the hot weather. They don't do daylight savings. And also, you like only have to renew your driver's license like every 65 years.
Yeah.
Like we'll get like in the pharmacy, they're like getting Sudafed and they bring their ID. It's like, this doesn't expire until like 2060. And you're like, what? Like,
mine expires in like 2 more years.
No, and it's like such a hassle to get it done. I'm hoping like by the time I have to redo mine.
Do they have gambling in Arizona?
I don't know. I'd assume, yeah.
Because I've heard that places that have gambling, like, the governments kind of take a portion of that with those businesses, and I think so they don't have to make their money in other places. I think here in Utah,
like
they
Nevada,
have to
you don't have like a state.
They don't have food tax and stuff. Yeah, they don't have a lot of stuff. But in Utah, it's like we don't have a lot of those types of recreation. So now we've got to like make you go pay the DMV to get your license renewed, get registered, all these things like on a annual basis rather than, just get you set up and you're good for the rest of your life. You don't need to worry about it.
And you think that would be really efficient. Like, I can see not having it that long because, I mean, some people lose their eyesight or they lose other things.
Well, when that happened, you'd think a
doctor would just like sending a letter being like, I need to revoke this.
Yeah. And say, oh, this person is now legally whatever, like colorblind or blind or can't see this well. And then, if that ever went to the state.
You can't tell the difference between red and green, so you can't drive. And they're like, I can just see where it is.
You can.
What if it's really dark?
It's a light.
I know, but you see the light, but you can't tell if that's the light at the top or the bottom.
How could you not tell it where the light is?
Because it's so dark, you can't tell if it's at the bottom or the top.
But if it's dark, the light is the only thing that's going to illuminate.
Yeah, but you see the light, but you can't tell what color the light is.
Right.
So you can't tell whether that position of the light is on the bottom or at the top.
What are you talking about? How would you not know if it's lit up? Then it's where it's at.
Yeah. How would
you think it's somewhere else?
Is if you're colorblind, to tell between red and green light is the red will be at the top and green will be at the bottom.
Okay.
But if it's dark enough that you can't tell if it's at the top or the bottom because you can't see the whole equipment there as a whole, all you do is see the light.
How dark would it have to be for that, though? I mean,
dark?
I think, like every street light has several lights and car lights or whatever. Anyway, like the car.
I grew up in a small town. There's not many street lights. In Delta, it can get
But were there any
dark enough?
There weren't even any street lights in general.
They have one in the whole town. Yeah. And it's not even the busiest intersection. Like there's Center Street and Main Street, so Utah,
they pretty much just built one to say they had one. So they couldn't say, we're so small, we don't even have a street light. It's like, yes, we do.
The fire station, I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
So they have to stop? Or no, they have to.
But it was the old fire station.
I
now
know
they have
why
a new
they
one.
did it. The firemen wanted to run a light when there's an emergency. It's like, we need to run a light. We don't get that
We
opportunity.
don't feel important. We're just running stop signs.
Right. Oh, that's funny. That would be actually pretty funny.
Yeah, but one thing I looked, so Arizona doesn't have it, but I thought it was just an American thing. But I guess Europe does it, parts of Australia, parts of like South America.
Oh, that actually do the daylight savings. See,
Canada.
How did it spread so quickly? Like, who started it? Everyone says, the Ben Franklin thing. Like, he was,
It was a different
one
dude.
that suggested it. But yeah, I
I
don't
listened
know.
to part of the podcast. I haven't finished it, but Stuff You Should Know, and they talked about it, which would have been really great if I had listened to that right before doing this. I played a little bit as we were setting things up, but yeah, I don't even get why it's a thing.
Yeah, I don't know who started it. Because whoever did,
And why is it so hard to get rid of? Why?
I think it was a prank. Because I think they mentioned that in that podcast a little bit.
Yeah, it was like a satire article of,
Just being a joke.
Needing
And
it.
people are like, you know what? We could maybe pull
and then
this
it kind of like other
off."
people are like, yeah, no, actually that would be something good. But I don't know why some things are so hard to change. Like, I think Reagan tried to switch us to the metric system
Oh, really?
back when he was in office. I heard it when I was a kid. Once again, I did no research of this before.
Yeah.
But why don't we do that? We have no reason to have foot, yard, any of these things. Everything should be
I think they sound
meters
kind of cool.
for distance. It doesn't make sense. Like, they're all just random measurements, and like,
Not random.
why are we so privileged to have our own measurement system? Why do we got to do cups? Why can't we just do ounces like regular people?
Are
And
we
then
not
for
regular?
for weight, everything is in grams. Like the metric system makes so much more sense. And I feel like with daylight savings, it's like, are we still needing this?
The
Let's just
biggest
get rid
thing
of
with
it.
the metric system that I would kind of like.
I bet they have more important things to work on, but like,
Right.
this is important to me. Darn it.
So that means it's important to everybody. No, but I think that. Oh my!
I
You put the finger down.
I pounded the table. Sometimes when you see people
That was a
pound
2
stuff,
finger down.
like, you feel like, are you gonna break your fingers?
Really?
Like in movies, if they hit really hard, or
I see when they hit their knuckle, and I always worry about like, you're gonna crack it, man. You're gonna crack that knuckle. You're gonna go to the hospital, and they'll say, "Why'd you do that?" And be like, "I was mad." And you'll look like an idiot.
I knew a guy that punched a weight bench because he was mad at his brother, and it broke his hand.
Oh,
And he came to scouts. It's like, I think I broke my hand, and we're all like, no, you didn't. You're such a liar. You're such a baby. Like, grow up. And the next day he comes to school with a cast, and we're like, oh, did you break your hand? So yeah, we were maybe
see, it's
not
never
so
worth
sensitive.
hitting stuff. Where were we?
Pillows, you can hit pillows.
No, it is. You could still break yourself with that. If the-
Depending on like how many pillows and what's underneath the pillow.
Yeah, maybe some people have really hard pillow.
My pillow's actually harder. It's the purple one, so it's like the
Is it
foam
really
instead
hard?
of just feathers.
Does it work?
So you have like support instead of just falling into your pillow and like going through the pillow. Actually, I'm not a huge fan of the pillow. The bed is awesome. The sheets are awesome. The box that it stands on is awesome. Like it's pretty high, really sturdy, so you can throw tons of stuff under it. Like I can crawl under the really leaves with the kids, and we like.
Well, that's nice. So
Play
it
under
comes all with this stuff?
No, you get them all separately, but like the sheets are stretchy and they keep you cool and warm. Like it's weird. You don't get like.
So you
hot.
bought everything the purple had to
Mhm.
offer.
I
you
didn't
just
buy
got
like
the whole
seat
thing.
cushions, and that was probably the only thing I didn't buy.
You just got the
the
whole
only one that I
set.
was like, was their pillow,
Yeah.
and that's just me. But I do pillows weird. I'll get like the feather ones, and I like fold it, and
Yeah.
then like hold on to it while I sleep. And you can't do that with the purple. So I don't think it's like comfort. It's just the way I sleep on it.
Oh, you can't really fold it up.
And it's not bad. It just
I forgot what I was talking about.
I don't remember either.
It was
It was important. And I was like slamming down my fingers.
yeah, you put the fingers down, and I was like, well, I guess.
It started with daylight savings, and then it went to like other things that we We should just get rid of the metric system.
Oh, that's right.
The
one thing about the metric system
we should
that I
just
like.
do the metric system.
Well, I like the temperature thing was kind of nice with metric, because zero
why do we need to make Fahrenheit?
and-
Why don't we just everything's Celsius?
Yeah, because I liked how 0 is freezing and 100's
They don't need to
boiling. Or
memorize
what is
that
100?
equation for
What
converting
is-
everything.
What is boiling point with Celsius? It's not 100. Is it 100?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, that's one
Instead
thing
of
I
like
liked.
212.
Yeah, where the Fahrenheit is kind of confusing, where it's like freezing's at 32 degrees. It's like, wouldn't it be 0?
Yeah, and it makes sense. Like
Right.
from a chemistry standpoint, that like Celsius is based off like water. So 0 is when water freezes,
Uh-huh.
and 100 is when water starts to boil.
And everything in between is just that.
And I guess there's Kelvin and there's like other things you can measure it with, but
And
like
joules.
yeah, joules for like energy and.
Why are there so many standards?
Well, there's everything like we measure energy, we measure heat and like temperature, and we gotta have a different unit for all of it.
We
And
can't
then
just have
Americans
0
are
to
like,
100?
well, let's add all these other things. So we have a way to measure liquid. All right, we'll call it liter. And so if it's a thousandth of a liter, it's a milliliter. And then they just go with that.
Well,
Everything's set. That's how everything goes. They all have the same prefixes. And then if it's for weight, it's gram. But then America's like, nah, let's put like pints and cups and quarts and gallons. Like, and there won't be
some
even
of those
round
words
numbers.
actually
They'll just
sound
be-
kind of cool.
They will just be random.
I like saying I need a few gallons of gas, not a few
Mhm.
liters.
Yeah. I need a gallon of gas instead of being like.
Doesn't gallon sounds a little more powerful. Like gallon.
There's
like liter?
I think there's like
A
2
liter?
point
Is it I see the liter.
1, 2. Maybe I'm thinking kilograms.
No,
There's 2.2 pounds in a 2.2 pounds in a kilogram.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think
right.
of how many is in a liter. Maybe it's like 3.5. I don't know. I should know this stuff, but I don't.
Well,
Not
the
on the
conversion-
spot on the
Yeah.
podcast without
yeah. This is why we
Googling
need
it
it.
to
Yeah.
verify. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like when I think about it, it's not as high on my priority list as yours. Obviously,
it just bugs me how
be highest.
we're that
We're not.
vain that
Is
we
it
gotta.
vain? Is it vanity?
Yeah,
I think
why
it's
do we
more
have
just-
to have our own system for everything? Why can't we just play nice with
It's
everybody?
not with everything, and we do play nice. We convert. We have conversions.
We don't need to have to convert if we just all went with the same system.
Well, excuse me.
We can edit that out. There was a good pause before and after.
There was.
I think it's Gatorade though. I felt it, but I've been, polite and like not done it, but whatever.
Hey, that was with my mouth closed and it was that loud. Like, where does it go?
We hate that when like you're having stomach issues and it's your tummy's just going back like, oh, I'm hungry, because you don't want to tell everybody like I'm about to have diarrhea or something.
I was like that one podcast. Did we? I don't know if we used it in that one podcast yet.
Was
Remember
it
you
the
were, like,
very first one we did?
I was like, you're sitting there. We were talking about Oreos, and you're like, It's like, it's time to eat. I don't know. I don't think it's vain. I don't think it's bad that we have our, a separate thing. It's like, does the rest of the world really do it? I mean, what about places in Africa? Do they have the metric system?
I think everyone does a metric system.
They don't do metric system. What about the tribes? They've got their own number system, I'm sure.
People that have like no contact with the world.
Right.
Yeah, but they also don't use feet and yards. Like,
yeah, they use something weird. I don't know. Maybe they use sticks. But I don't know. I don't think it's that detrimental. I do see the convenience where it's like, yay, we won't have to convert back and forth. It'll just be all one simple thing. But I don't know.
well, like, and scientifically, like even in the United States, if we're gonna,
yeah, we do science with metric system.
we do science with a metric system because it makes sense and it's the easiest way to do it. And maybe that's just the science major.
I
in
think
me.
so. Maybe they're trying to separate the science from the common people.
And we shouldn't do that. We should make science like Bill Nye would be freaking out. I'm trying to get everyone into science because
Bill Nye is kind of went off the deep end, so I don't know what
he's getting
doing.
kind of political.
Well, it's not just political. I mean, he's just Like, he just says whatever people tell him to. It's like, wait a minute, in your old show you said this. Nope, it's this now. It's like, well, okay. I just realized I can't trust you. Anyway, I don't know. I still don't think it's that big a deal. And I think there's, I would prefer to fix other things first.
Yeah, and that could be a reason why it's not changed yet. But
yeah, it's like that's probably not.
I think
the worst thing in the world.
80% of us think daylight saving time.
That one I think is a waste because almost more than the metric system switch, because it's like.
Well, there's things that go wrong with daylight saving time. Like, my wife would work a night shift, and so you have an extra hour, and then other times you'd have less, like an hour less, because if your shift's from like 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., like
that sucks.
Yeah, you're actually getting an extra hour when you're doing that in the fall.
Dang,
and they're always like, I wonder how that's going to work on our paycheck. And everyone's like double checking their paycheck. And I actually think they didn't get paid for that extra hour.
I doubt it. Yeah, the company's like, well, we just subtract that from their shift. And no one would know.
Because like the time clocks, it doesn't change it.
Which makes sense. Yeah, it just sucks.
But I actually wrote down a little bit of a list of other things that was affected by it. Travel, billing things, record keeping, sleep patterns. So I think that's a big one too. We're messing with our sleep because I talked about earlier like how important it is, and this is something that I know, like this is backed by science, and I got it from school. I'm not going to say where that study was or where it was, but this is something we were taught in school, that you want to be on a good sleeping pattern. And so if we're all of a sudden switching our pattern, and I think one day is probably not too big of a difference, but it takes us a while to get back into that groove. So we go through unneeded sleep disruption.
It takes 30 days to kind of set a pattern and like get adjusted to something different. Like if you change something with your routine, it takes about 30 days to get that routine kind of solidified.
I'm not dedicated to spend 30 days on anything.
I know, so that's why we never change. Like, it's like I've had the same routine for the last 30 years.
I can't change now.
Yep.
I'm already set in my ways.
Yeah.
I'll eat Oreos by the sleeve still. That's one thing I wish I can get better at is eating well.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, I wish I could eat them faster. I need to get through more sleeves. Like I get through 2 and I'm like, I got to get more.
I had a regular package of Oreos, the double stuffed. 2 settings. I ate the whole thing. I had a sleeve and a half each time I ate it.
And was that in a day?
And I thought to myself that it was back-to-back days. So it took me 2 days to down the package. In my younger days, I can do the whole package at once. Back when I was burning calories.
Now I'm just storing them.
now I saving on to them just in case we ever get the apocalypse. I got like a year of not having to eat that I could live off of.
You know what I've always wondered? Because, we store in our fat cells the food or stuff we don't eat. If there was a way to find which cells like stored the stuff that we liked the most and be like, that's the fat cell I want to use first. And if there was a way to like taste the food that we stored in there when it's being utilized by the body, it's like,
that would be cool.
That
if you
turkey
had, like,
dinner's
that
coming back.
Like you're working out, and you're like, Oreos. And then you're like, maybe I need to eat more Oreos so I can work out better.
There you go.
But I think unfortunately you lose all the flavor when it's not on your mouth.
Really? It doesn't store that stuff?
No, because it breaks everything down into chemicals.
Well, flavors are chemicals. That's how you get the natural and artificial flavor.
Yeah, but then we poop and pee that stuff out.
What? Why don't we store it?
And we just store the acids or the molecules and fatty acid chains, and then those.
We store the stuff that's useful.
Yeah.
Like, dang it.
Our body's just so efficient.
Yeah, it's like, we don't need this. It's like, yes, we do. For the taste buds.
Which is crazy. Like, have you ever thought about how efficient the world is? And it's so crazy that we can do all these bad things to it, and the world just keeps on ticking.
Right.
Everything's set up so well.
My personal opinion is the world would destroy us before we would destroy it.
Yeah, they'd be like, you guys are missing us too well, and it would do something for a little bit that'd wipe out the human population.
Right. Well,
and then,
think about it. I mean, it's already happened. Like every natural disaster is like can be astronomical on so many levels.
Mhm.
I mean, sure, we have some weapons that make some big explosions and can kill lots of people, but so natural disasters happen like that, like
All the
every
time,
year.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're devastating. They level
Mother's
cities
like,
and
watch this, and then that Yellowstone volcano is going to explode and take out
Yeah,
the
like-
Western United States. Is
Yeah.
like, I just did that with one volcano.
yeah. I really think that as impressive in some cases as our scientific achievements are, it's like
it's small in the grand scheme of things.
yeah, when you look at the whole world, like you say, like how intricate and how well it works,
Mhm.
even with our our footprint of whatever size it is, it's like, yeah, I think this world would kick us out real fast if we were that big of a problem.
Mhm. Well, I've talked to some people about like science and religion, and they feel like, oh, we understand so much that like we can just prove religion's not right. And I was like, well, at the same time, like our understanding of this, you're like, how does that happen by chance? How well everything's set up. Like we can't recreate photosynthesis, and it's a pretty basic process, but just the way it works, it's so perfect. Like, but
Well,
then you can go back to being like, oh, well, is that because over millions of years of evolution that works so well, and so that was the one that lasted? And
Well, and see that I don't know how that really works.
yeah, if anybody's wondering, I don't think you're ever going to
Prove either way, yeah, because
prove either way, and I don't think it has to be science versus religion. I think they can
no. Well, and I
live
think
happily together.
I think they could too, because honestly, science just when it doesn't know something, it just kind of. I mean, they have their own theories, like Big Bang theories and all those different
Mhm.
theories. So it's like, just put God theory in there, and there you go. Everyone's happy. It's like it's just a theory because technically we can't prove a Big Bang, and technically we can't prove in the scientific sense of proving, I guess. But yeah, you can't prove one way or the other.
Yeah, until we can like create a Big Bang and have this little
World
in
form.
front
It's
of
like,
us.
look, it worked.
Mm.
Yeah, so just put it under the God theory, and there you go. Everyone's happy.
Yeah, but then should you be teaching the God theory?
Why not? We teach a Big Bang theory, but we don't know if that's true. We teach an evolution theory, but we don't
But
honestly
it's
know
more
that's true.
scientific then.
How? What's the difference?
Well, because then you'd have to explain where did God come from?
Well, we gotta explain where the Big Bang came from.
Where did all these molecules that come that started? Like, what was the first atom?
I don't know. You still
Nah.
have to do that with the boom.
That's a hard thing too. Is like, there's no beginning, there's no end. There'll always be
on any theory.
stuff, yeah.
Every theory is that way.
But I was talking to
So
an
I don't-
intern today, my student, and she's Vietnamese, and
She's science?
a Buddhist.
Oh, that's fun.
And I've never really heard too much about the religion, but she was talking to me today. I was asking her questions as we were driving because we went to Ephraim and then came back up. So we had about an hour drive there, an hour drive back.
Yeah.
And about the whole drive back, we talked about it, and it was really cool stuff. Like I never heard about
That would
Buddhists,
be really
and
cool.
it was really cool. Like, because I was asking her questions, so she's talking about how like everything's recycled. Like, a seed grows and creates a tree, and the flower comes out, and then it falls off, and the seeds come off and grow and other stuff. Like everything's
as a cycle.
Is a cycle and stuff like that. And so they talked about how like life is like that when we die, and they talked about when you're reincarnated into something else. So I was like, so was there like a creator? Like, what do you believe? And it's like, oh no, it's just like kind of like the Big Bang theory. It's just substance is there,
Things
and then you
just
have
keep
the spirits
cycling.
that are using the substance to create bodies and stuff like that. So you have like the baby and the spirit. Like I'm giving a really bad view of it, but when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. Like,
That's interesting.
I was like, I dig it.
Well,
like,
yeah.
You don't have to believe it or anything like that, but I
No.
mean,
I think that's actually an interesting concept, though. Again, it's just another theory.
And like, they had other cool things too, because I was like, oh, so with like spirits and stuff like that, because you can be reincarnated and you can be like a cow in the next life, or you can be reincarnated, you can be a pig, like, do you guys have any restrictions on like eating foods? And she's like, no, because like we're a higher being, and so they're there to feed us, and
on
so
their
we do
on
that.
the totem pole.
And I was like, that's a cool way to think about it. And then I was like, so Buddha, who's Buddha? Is that like, because this is what I asked
that's
before, the
right.
creator thing, and I guess he was just a guy, and
Who thought of the whole thing?
yeah, and then so they kind of they don't like, I'd say worship him. They just follow his teachings and like
a Muhammad
and think about him, and
or
because he was a really good guy and a lot of good thoughts.
or what is that? Newton. What's his first name?
They did what?
Newton? Newton's law? What was his name?
Isaac Newton.
Isaac.
Yeah, the physicist.
I was gonna say Jimmy Neutron, but I'm like, that's way off.
Yeah. I'll help you with the science stuff. You can all the media stuff.
Anyway.
But yeah. But I also think a lot of like that science does as well. Like I feel like science is more of like how, where religion is more of the why. Like, so they're answering two different questions. So I'm like not a religious person, but at the same time, I'm not against people that have like religious thoughts. And I think when you get either side of that gets way too into it, they're like, science. Or they're like, religion. How could you be stupid enough to believe a religion? I think they're too far one side and not.
Yeah, I think the extremes can cause problems.
Because we don't know. Like, there's no way to know. And you can think however you want on it, but you're never going to know, and you're never going to disprove, like, religion.
No.
You can say, this physically is not possible. And it's like, well, God doesn't obey physics. Like you're just no winning. And so I don't even get the debate.
I don't either. And it gets...
I don't know why you have to think that you're right either.
Well, and it's funny because there's a lot of scientists who can be religious, and actually the science just helps support kind of their feelings on it. Yeah,
there's a lot of like scientists and PhDs, and they're very religious.
And it's like, and there's also probably a lot of religious people that like science. So it's like, I don't know.
A lot of dumb people that are religious, a lot of dumb people that aren't.
Yeah, so it's it doesn't really, you can't really judge it that way.
I wouldn't say that like because you're religious you're less intelligent.
Right, or that you're just, writing off as things as whatever, and it's like, no, I don't know. I think science, when it doesn't have an explanation for something, they just, I don't know what they really do with it. They just kind of sit it off to the side and focus on what they can measure and look at.
Yeah, but people that get too far into religion too, that's hard to reason with. Where you're like, so I know that if you think you just pray for this, you'll feel better, but like maybe God is just saying, I'll give you the wisdom to go and get your antibiotic and start feeling better.
Right.
I feel like
I actually had a story like that.
He gives you the brain to be able to use it. Like if there was a supreme being.
Well, well, there is a lot of that I agree with. But no, there was a lady that my mom knew. She was a big herbalist, kind of natural remedy person, and one of her kids was sick, and she did everything that she knew how with the natural herbalist stuff, and to go along with that kind of idea where they were. She was also religious, but she did do like kind of talked it over with her husband. They kind of prayed about it, and they got the impression that they just needed to take her to the doctor and actually take her to the hospital. And it was actually good because I can't remember what it was, but they were actually able to help and take down whatever it was. I think it was like a fever or something. Like it wasn't going down. Anyway.
So they're like, lo and behold, this is Tylenol.
No, well, that was the thing though. Like, it wasn't that.
I was rubbing lemon oil on it the whole time.
No, I think they had tried that. No,
I'm just kidding.
Anyway, it was like, but it was something that, they had to go there and they were able to fix whatever it was. But because,
there's people on the opposite side of the spectrum too. There's a lady I knew that had cancer and was trying to treat it herbally and ended up dying from it.
Right. So to me though, that was the other thing. Well, it's like some people that go to the doctor for like even splinters, and it's like, no, you don't need that.
Yeah.
It's like you can get some tweezers, pull it out, you'll be okay. It's like, no, I'm gonna die.
You're all right. Just make sure it doesn't get infected.
Right. And
but
then,
like before it kills you, like you're probably gonna be like, I should probably go to the doctor for this splinter because
right.
your finger's gonna swell up and be super painful, and pus is gonna start oozing out, and you're like, maybe I should get this taken care of.
Right.
And they'll give you like cephalexin, and you'll be fine.
Well, and it's funny because I think a lot of the stuff, at least that I see in the medical field, is more useful to use it for emergencies, where it's like,
I think we overuse
a
lot of medicines.
Well, especially like because like when someone gets a severe allergic reaction to something, they're like cuts off their breathing, and they're like, oh. Yeah, you can't really rub lemon oil or eucalyptus on it. It's like, that'll open up the airways. It's like, no, I don't think that's going to be fast enough. So it's like, EpiPen's going to be a lot quicker on that
And
one.
I don't even understand, like, with herbal and a lot of that other stuff, like, the thought process behind it. I know a lot of people say, like, oh, it's natural. It's this. It works for the body. We're treating the inner problem and not just the symptoms. But, like, it doesn't make sense in our world. As far as selling a product, why would you sell it that way? If you had something that can cure them from it, like, that would just make sense.
Kind of.
Like, I can see in a way, like, you'd want to drag on the disease. Like, let's not cure diabetes. Let's just drag it on.
Well, it's the same with any industry.
At the same time, if you had a product that cured diabetes, you could sell that for so much money. And it would be covered on insurances because you're like, you're going to have this diabetic patient for the next 50 years. Instead, I'll charge you what it would have cost him for the next 40 years. And then you could cover the whole entire diabetes market, make tons of money, and use that money to invest in some other diseases. Like, there's plenty of diseases to go around.
Well, well, kind of, because that's if there were, they would probably research them all. Because, think of the main, you already know them, like the main categories for... you got cholesterol, diabetes, high blood pressure. They're like those are the ones that there's like a bazillion different kinds of those same, symptom things. If there were other diseases worth looking into that were prevalent enough and worth the money, I think they would have looked into them by now.
Yeah, but I feel like if we cured diabetes, like there's plenty of other diseases that we can go
to
with.
look at, but are they as
like
profitable?
even if we cured cancer, it can be profitable. If they find a cure for diabetes, let's say they come up with
let's
because this is one that isn't like too far off as well. Let's say they come up with a vaccine that you can take and it prevents type 1 diabetes.
Okay,
so that's not
type
all of
1's
diabetes.
the pancreas out, like it didn't work at all.
Type 1, they're finding that it could have a lot to do with an autoimmune.
But is that where the pancreas doesn't work at all?
Yeah,
like
so the pancreas isn't kicking out insulin. So
it's just not working at all.
Whereas type 2 is more of your body's resistant to it.
So it's pumping it, but your body.
Which a lot of times develops over time because we're not utilizing our muscles. So lack of, exercise or not eating right.
That's lifestyle.
And our body just can't supply enough insulin for the need. But let's say they come up with a vaccine for it. There's still plenty of stuff to make money on. And you know how expensive that vaccine is going to be? They're still selling a product. They're selling the cure.
It's true. But I'm thinking in our day and age of subscription-based things, I think companies are more interested in a consistent cash flow than a one-time lump sum.
But you're going to get new people every year. So let's say there's a part of babies. So you're selling yours consistently. It's still a subscription. And you're the only person on the market getting that thing. Metformin's still going to be out there because type 2s use it, but
not if there was a cure. Like if it cured diabetes,
just type 1 though.
Well,
let's say we have one that we can give to everybody, and nobody would develop diabetes ever.
So diabetes is no longer
up, just theoretical, something that made us have a perfect pancreas and
also
perfect liver
worked,
and perfect every organ, because diabetes is literally everything. But you would still be selling that product. And you would have the whole market on that product by yourself because nothing else would compare. So every baby born gets your product. Could you imagine?
How would they?
It's not even people with or without diabetes now. It's now everybody gets this vaccine.
Just because it would make it so your
you don't get diabetes.
So you would never get diabetes.
Yeah. And so you're still selling a product. You're still selling it for long term because people are going to get diagnosed with things as you go on. So if you had a cure for cancer, people are still going to get cancer. You can just now cure it. And so it doesn't make sense just to be like, oh, let's just kick down the cancer enough and then 10 years we'll do it again. It's like, no, we'll get more patients every day. And if we're the ones that can cure it, like we're the first line that everyone's going to go to when they would go to treatment options. Like, well, we can give you that stuff that's going to just treat it for a while. Or they got this new stuff that cures it. You'll never get cancer again.
See,
patients going to be like, I want this. And they're like, well, it's like 100 times more expensive. And they're like, psh, I don't care. Like, cure my cancer. And so they get the market. And like, if I was competing against other markets and I'm like, I have a cure, I would let my cure go out before the other markets get to use all their money to compete against them for their...
Yeah, because once it goes generic, then everyone's going to have it.
Mm-hmm.
But,
so you got your patent, so you got the 20 years of it, and then after the patent's gone, then other people can do it. But
because it's like amoxicillin, though. I mean, you're kind of treating cancer like a bacteria.
Yeah, so if it's something like that.
Or it's like you're hoping people will get it, but...
It cures you of the bacterial infection.
How many people actually get cancer? Like, what's the study on that? Like, out of the population, are there more people that die from cancer than like car wrecks? Like, what is the percentage? Like, it's already a small percentage,
I think a lot of
right?
people don't. It's not lethal for a lot of people in a lot of different cancers. Like, there's some that like prostate's pretty lethal, lung is pretty lethal.
Right. Those are
but there's a lot of cancer that aren't.
And that's
like
where I would...
melanoma, I think, is pretty lethal, but there's a lot of other skin cancers that aren't.
Because antibiotics, I mean, they're used for everything. I mean...
Every bacterial infection.
Everything. Well, and depending on the person that goes in, they want it for everything.
Bacterial infections are a lot more prevalent than cancer.
Right. So that's where I think that level of, would it be worth using a cure for it or not?
But with economy, I would think that even if it's less prevalent, that just increases the price.
Right. But then...
So that you can still make the same amount of money, it would just cost more to treat it.
Well, and it also costs more to make it. Because if
it's not as common, and that's why it costs more. The price goes up. Is if something is really common and everyone's drinking soda pop, we can manufacture it in bulk supplies and get it out there, and you have steady going. We can decrease that price. But if it's something that, like, let's say hardly anybody drinks soda, but those people that really want that soda will really get it. I mean, they'll pay a higher price for it.
Right, you can get a premium thing, but I don't think companies like to go off of a premium idea, especially when they want to saturate the market and want a consistent cash flow. At least that's my opinion. Because where it's like, I look at like a lot of like current softwares and subscription stuff. That's why everyone's moving that way. And it kind of irritates me because I like just paying a lump sum, having a product, and then when they make a newer version in like
Office
a few years,
that, I was like, no.
Yeah, like when they...
And I don't know if I'll buy it because I don't want to pay a monthly fee.
Yeah, I've
never
never
bought
use
this enough.
I've never bought
so I can't ever get rid of my computer because I have.
Well, it's horrible because like Adobe was the worst one that when they did that, where it's like it's a monthly subscription. I'm like, that's the lamest thing I've ever heard. Unless you're using it 24/7, you're really not getting the money out of it or the worth out of it. Where it's, I think a lot of people sign up for stuff they never use because they used it the one time, had to sign up for it, and now it just sits there and charges their card. Like, I don't want to get rid of it because one day I might need it.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the examples you're given, though, is based on things that are different than healthcare by itself. Like, you can illegally download the software and illegally use it. Like, you can
illegally get the drugs.
You can illegally get the drugs, but
they won't work as well. If it's just like an illegal software, though, it won't work as well. It's all the same, in my opinion. It's the whole idea of each company is trying to get the most out of everybody. And the easiest way, I mean, think of credit cards. They've been doing it forever. The biggest thing was pay now or buy now, pay later kind of thing, or have it now, pay later, where it's like their interest rate is so high. Everyone does the minimum payments and they'll never pay it off because you're barely hitting the interest. They know, and they'll just continue for their whole life. My grandma was like that.
But I feel like with medicine, you'll still get that because it's something you need. You get it or you die.
But that's why they don't do cures, I think, in a lot of ways. I don't know if they could cure. I'm not saying they have made a cure and they're just being conspiracy theorists or whatever. But I'm saying though that where's the money in finding one?
I think the money is in market shares. So you would control the market if you had the cure.
Kind of, but for how long? That's a temporary thing. Once everyone's cured, then you're kind of stuck with this awesome thing that either it's gone generic, everyone's cured, and when it pops up, it disappears as fast as it comes.
But like in order to have that cure though, like you'd have to eradicate it from our genes. So like let's say you came up with something like a genetic alteration for cystic fibrosis, and so nobody in the future would get it. That would make a little bit more sense because no one's going to get it in the future. But if there's something like a vaccine or a medicine that you would take, people still have those diseases in their genetics, or they have it from environment or other things like that, like cancer and diabetes. Those would be environmental or genetic things that we can get. And so people are still going to get diagnosed with it. So you're still going to have patients forever, but now they're not going to need to do any of the other medicines. And the money that they're spending on those other medicines, they'll not only spend on your product because you can actually cure them of it. So it's like, do you want to check your blood sugars all the time and shoot yourself up with an insulin, have to take a pill twice a day?
Right, and that's going to cut into a lot of other markets.
So it's going to cut from the other markets, but my market, it's incented for me where I can take the billions that all the other people are making and put those billions all into my cash cow. Like, it doesn't make sense for me not to do that.
It kind of does. I mean, think of think of Apple's stuff where it's like all the attachments that they have to their phone that you have to buy in addition to, where it's like you have your main thing and that's, the big bulk that everyone wants. But then it's like, oh, but you wanted to do this too? Well, that it's going to cost extra. And I think that's why a lot of stuff like diabetes, where it's like, oh, you have diabetes? Well, you're going to need the metformin. Oh, you're going to need this little thing to check your blood sugar all the time. And it's like, and then what's funny though is like all those companies are already a part of probably a single company.
Yeah.
It's like the people that make Freestyle Light probably also make a brand of metformin, which also makes a brand of insulin. And then just like,
yeah, I talked to a guy and he's like, yeah, the Samsung and the Apple, they're both made by the same company that makes their wireless chargers.
Yeah. It's like,
he's like, you can get this one. It'll work for both. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. See, I think business is a weird thing. I don't know where they're actually getting their revenue. I know they want a consistent stream because the worst thing for a company is to have those one-hit wonders where it's like fidget spinners. It comes out, it sweeps the market, they make $1 billion, and then all of a sudden they plateau, and it's like, how do you make a fidget spinner cool again? You don't. Yeah,
you don't.
Like,
you use that money and you invest it into a
right,
business.
It's gone. And that's, one-hit wonders for a company is the worst thing ever because it's like, it's a big spike.
Besides that guy that made the fidget spinner that made all the money from it. Well, but as a business, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he wanted to retire off it, that's great. But if he wanted to be like one of those, a corporation kind of thing where it's just like, they snowball and they just keep getting bigger and they keep making raising their bottom line and getting like, whoa, we're going to take over the world kind of idea, like Microsoft and Google. And
I do have a bias thinking that like in healthcare, there's like the Hippocratic Oath, like, people go into healthcare to like help people. But I do realize like that's not everyone's goal.
Oh no. Well, especially with, there's the business side, I think, is where a lot of things get interesting. Yeah. It's the word. I don't want to say it's bad or good. It's just interesting.
And sometimes you like to think like, oh, insurance companies are evil, but then you got to think about the business side and you're like, well, they have to run as a business.
Right. And they need to.
So, there's a reason why it goes up, and I guess healthcare salaries go up with it.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to win in such a narrow market. I don't know. There hasn't even been a new drug developed in the last for, good
slow down.
Yeah, once they went through their kind of surge of different.
Yeah, they had a pretty big surge, but now all the new ones are like biologics and really expensive ones.
Well, and what do they do though? Like, are they even for anything specific?
They're for everything. There's like a new one that came out for cholesterol. Like cholesterol, I think, is a pretty basic thing that we treat pretty well with statins, but not everybody can be on a statin.
Right.
So they have this like.
So now they're going into like more specific, where it's like, if you can't take these, you can try this one. But it's still treating the same, staple symptoms and issues that we all run across, which is interesting.
Well, I think as we get deeper into and one thing I wanted to research when I was in school, but I ended up going to a different school. Was pharmacogenomics, where you get into like how medicine affects genes and even one thing you can do is you can take someone's genome and then be like, oh, you're going to have side effects. You're not going to react to these and these meds. And so you can like personalize to it. But I want to think of it deeper as in like, we're going to actually be able to fix people's genes so they don't have the disease. Like, I was talking to my buddy, his son has
like
cystic
the stem
fibrosis.
Cell research kind of stuff.
Yeah, things like that, where we can have a stem cell and we can like fix the cells that they're creating it. But even further in that, we go into the cells and we're switching the DNA in the cells to not
down to a
reflect
DNA
that thing. So there's
structure.
cystic fibrosis, and I guess there's a protein that like twists. This podcast is getting really nerdy. But anyways, there's like a wrong twist or something in it. I'm not quite sure. This is secondhand from him. But he said there's medicines now that can untwist that temporarily. So while you're on the medicine, it pretty much cures that cystic fibrosis for the time being. And then once the medicine wears off, it goes back to twisting its regular shape. But if we can have something that takes out that mutation that causes that twist, and we can give that to people and it alters their DNA, and then you give it to it for long enough until all the DNA is replicated and switched. I mean,
then
we could cure things.
Cystic fibrosis medication needs.
And then when their DNA is fixed, they
Right.
can't pass that trait on because they no longer have the mutation or what's going wrong with it. However, our DNA gets mutations in them all the time. You start smoking and you get more of the mutations. Things. That's why you get so much cancer and stuff like that. So you're still going to get diseases in the future. Like,
yeah, different ones.
Cure everything. But I mean, we could put a big halt to it. And then
to different ones.
They're going to make all their money from altering your DNA to get rid of diseases. And they won't be using pills as their source of income, but now they're going to use that DNA change as their source of income. So I don't think the whole purpose of keeping people sick forever is a good way to keep people there. It'd be like the dentist giving you candy, right?
Right. Or well, and it's
keeping your teeth bad.
Well, and that's
instead they just charge you a lot and then see you less often.
Well, that's the problem. If you see them less often, they get less money. And that's where I think
that some of that Hippocratic oath comes before. You're like, you want to do a good service because if people's teeth are falling apart,
and I think
eventually
if
you
wanted
lose
to
the
go
teeth
off of that
too.
That would that's too bad. That's not the.
I had made that stupid analogy. I was like on a track and going, and now I've lost it. But
what? Oh, sorry. Which one?
I used the dentist analogy, and then it got me off from my thought process.
Oh,
because I was talking about like fixing it.
Yeah.
And like then I said dentist would do this, and then I lost what I was saying. But anyways, I think it's more of technology shifting. So instead of like getting pills to treat symptoms, and like some pills don't treat symptoms, they fix it. It's just the way our body works and how they found to like counteract that. But I think it'll just shift into a different area. So we start finding cures for things. They're going to start investing their money into that area to start selling that product. Like I could see a future where we don't take medicine like we do now. Well,
and I would agree with that.
There's always going to be ways to make money, and the smarter we get,
it'll switch.
But
I just don't know. Yeah, it's going to be a hard switch. I mean, right now, I mean, it's the difference between gas and electric cars.
Yeah,
it's like electric cars. I mean, my dad was a mechanic like years ago, like probably 40 years ago, and they were talking about electric cars then. Like he said, they knew all about it. They wanted to do it, but the biggest hurdle was how are you going to make the gas companies happy?
Yeah.
And that's been probably one of the biggest holdups on switching over to that. That's why they're going through so many transitions of hybrids and all this kind of stuff where they're trying to figure out where they're going to get all that revenue, because it's like, yes, it's true. We could switch over to electric probably overnight if they wanted, but it's like they're trying to figure out how they're going to milk it again.
Yeah. And that I think would be a good argument against drug companies.
Right. It's going to be, it's like we've invested a ton of money into these. It's like, maybe once all the patents go generic, maybe they won't be as picky about it, but I still think there's so much business intertwined with everything where it's like, if you're good at something, they don't do it for free.
Yeah.
It's like, everything, they've got to figure out how they can get what they think it's worth or what people will pay for it, what the value is. It's like, anyone would pay, oodles of money for some immortality or some, fix your body forever kind of thing. But I don't know if anyone would ever want to make it, because once everyone got it, or the people that could afford it got it, it's like it would kind of disappear.
Yeah. But I mean, they have vaccines that they could just make it and be like, oh, you have to get a booster every 5 years. But instead they make some that last for a lifetime. And so once you're vaccinated, you're done.
Actually, I've heard that. I don't know if this is true, but Thomas Edison's light bulb like still works.
Oh, really?
I've heard this. I don't know if this is true, but anyway. But this thing, I'm
like that's how they said. I heard
exactly.
this from
I
them.
have no idea. This is not factual by any means. This
It
is
could be.
That's true.
But I don't know.
If you want to research it, that'd be awesome. And then just let us know on
Yeah, I'm
Twitter,
cool if people
Facebook.
ripping us apart and being like, that was so stupid you said it. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it was.
Anyway, and that's why
Cool.
like light bulbs now, I think they were like made to break, and a lot of things are I think made to break now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's kind of on a disposable level, and I think they want it disposable because I think there is more money in it.
So do you think it's more
disposable.
of wanting it to be disposable or cutting costs so much to get it cheaper that when you cut those costs and take shortcuts in manufacturing and stuff, it gives you an inferior product? Or a combo of both?
I think it turned into both. I think they probably were trying to cut costs at first, but it all became a money game.
Like, oh, we can have people buy new washers and dryers every 3 years and new fridges every 5 years instead of having a fridge for life.
But what's funny too is because in the old days, like you would buy years ago when they weren't cutting corners on stuff that would actually last,
Mm-hmm.
like you would buy it and they could do a lifetime warranty because it probably would last you your whole life. But now I think they're doing like limited warranties and stuff because they know it's going to break, and they are probably using inferior materials to make it. But they're trying to keep that same profit margin and actually probably increased it because they'll probably still, sell you, $1,000 washer or whatever. And it'll break in like a year or two when they used to sell them for maybe 1,000 years ago, but it would actually last you your life. Mm-hmm. So I think they're actually getting more for their money because the prices haven't really changed a whole lot.
I'd almost say
they kind of do a little bit.
Symptom of technology as well.
Right.
Like technology is advancing so fast. Like you get something now, you can get something way more efficient in the future. So you start thinking about like.
Yeah, cell phones are horrible with that. Every year they bring out a new one, whether the features are useful or not.
Or even though they might have technology right now for something like 10 years in the future, but like, nah, we'll just slowly release like internet speeds. They can make things so much faster right now, but they're like, nah, let's not do that.
Well, I've heard that.
I'll give you a computer with.
They call it the corporate clock. They release things as they feel it's necessary.
Yeah.
Or useful or profitable. I remember seeing a little article talking about like back when the iPad first came out, and they were like Microsoft actually had done something similar. Like it had shown it at like one of their shows. It never caught on. It looked ugly and it was probably difficult to use, but the iPad was the first one to actually mainstream it and made it so like everyone was, user friendly and all this stuff. Like, oh, I like it. I can use it. And I think that has a lot to do with the corporate clock of like, I think there, like you said, there's a lot of tech out there that we won't get for several years because they're trying to figure out how to.
And that's crazy.
Get
Marketing
it into everything, yeah,
and how it looks has the biggest difference.
Yeah, how it looks.
Imagine having iPads like way back when. Game changer.
Yeah,
but I mean, sometimes you gotta wait for other technology to come too. Like if internet's not very good and you have dial-up, like iPads aren't as cool.
Yeah, and that's again.
And it's the internet that
I think there was because iPads wouldn't have been near as cool, without Wi-Fi. Once Wi-Fi started catching on, like, oh, look, I can wirelessly connect to things. It's like, oh, well, just wirelessly connect to the internet and have this little device. Anyway, corporate clocks are just, they're what rule what we, what we use.
But I also feel like, I'm tying this back into healthcare, but I feel like healthcare has less of that corporate clock than like technology. Because it makes financial sense to like get your better product out there quicker than other people. Like if I had a cure to something, I'd want to start selling it now rather than wait.
Yeah, I think instead
of like going into steps like let's halfway cure cancer, then let's 3/4 of the way cure cancer, and then we'll release ours and completely cure it. I think
it depends, though, on whose toes you're stepping on when you bring out your cure. Like, if you're stepping on your own toes, it's not worth it. Say you're the one
let's say I'm the one that makes all chemo, of the diabetes meds.
Or say you're the one who makes chemo. Yeah. It's like, all of a sudden, I got to trash all this chemo equipment so we can move through this cure. It's like, they're going to wait for that moment where it's like, okay, using this type of chemo isn't worth it anymore because it's not working and people don't want it because it's worse than the disease itself or whatever. Or it's like, where's that cross where it's like, it's more profitable to just trash those and bring in our new thing? Or is it worth just holding on to this till it's run its course and no one wants anymore, or bringing
crazy.
in the
Like when you
thing?
say this, like I thought like, well, maybe if people were working at different companies more often, then that would give them incentive to release it quicker. But I was like, that happens so much in the tech company, and that it's not happening.
Well,
like
because they sign
delaying the release.
agreements.
Yeah.
If you work at a tech company that's got technology that's, way ahead of its time and you're working on it and then you
You
quit,
go somewhere else, you can't.
if you do, you're screwed. If they find out, like,
Right, legally.
that's trade secrets and all that crap that you sign, contracts when you hire on someone.
You
Like,
would
we will
love
not talk
Silicon
about.
Valley, the TV show.
I know. Oh, I'm sure it's got tons of that stuff because it's a huge
that's all
deal.
of what it's about. It's about the startup company.
Right. It's like
in
when you
Silicon
start
Valley and getting
something. Well,
everything.
I sat in on, it was a stupid item too. It was a blow up outdoor movie screen. It was stupid. Well, I guess people like it. But anyway, there was a company that did it. Then a guy left that company, made his own very similar, and they were suing him. Like the original company was suing this spin-off company that was very similar. And it was a huge legal case. Like I was sitting there and the judge is sitting there going over it, and they're sitting there going over like they, broke their agreement and all this stuff and trade secrets, and their design was very much the same, but all they were doing was going through a different manufacturer to do it cheaper, and they were kind of undercutting. And it's like in their contract they weren't supposed to compete with us if they left, and they weren't supposed to. I'm like, and I was just sitting there. I'm like, wow, I sat there for like an hour just listening to all this stuff. And I'm like, and this was a small company. This wasn't even a big one. Like this wasn't anything relevant to anything that anyone knew. It's like I watched this and I'm like, I don't even know what they are, and they can bicker about this all they want.
They actually
this
bring
isn't
up
like
that same case
this
in
isn't like
Silicon
Apple
Valley.
and Microsoft. I mean, those are huge, but it's like this is happening on small scales.
So like on Silicon Valley, so he comes up with this algorithm that you can compress data really small, and so you can store huge amounts of like video files and stuff like that, and it's like virtually nothing because they can compress it so much. And it started off as like a way to compress music files, so you got like really
MP3,
good, really good music quality. But he ends up using it for lots of different stuff. But anyways, he was an employee at Hulu, which is supposed to be like Google. And he used one of their computers to like send one email or something really small
About
but
it.
because they did that, like Hulu starts to sue them and being like, no, you worked on this like very remotely, like very a small thing, but technically you did it with
As an
something
employee,
as an employee of Hulu. But then he gets out of it because there's like some other like random legal issue. Spoiler. But yeah, there's tons of stuff like that. That's like the whole thing is just the cat and mouse of like a big technology company trying to weed out all the independents starting up.
Yeah, intellectual property. It's a big. It's almost as bad as copyright laws, where it's like, who thought of it first? It's like, I don't know. It's like, who does it first or who thought of it first? Or, where do you draw the line? And it's like, because idea. Yeah. Anyway, that's another thing. But
I listen to something and they get a lot of their ideas and stuff like that from real things, and then they just tie it into things. So most of the stuff that's happened there is things that's happened
is
in
an
real
event
life.
that's probably happened.
But they also have like a lot of their staff writers, like they'll go into the science of it or a lot of the things behind it, and they have like Stanford professors chiming in and help writing it.
Oh, really?
There's even a paper. I won't go into what the paper is about because it's pretty bad, but it was really funny. But
Funny and bad.
the efficiency of doing stuff to people and the most efficient way to get it done. But they actually published a paper based off something from the TV show that they worked on, because they were just making it like sound really official to like make it seem really realistic in the show. But then like it was good enough that they published the paper.
Wow, that's cool.
So
well, yeah. When it comes to that, there's everybody wants a slice of the pie, and that's, I think, where it gets become a problem. I think that's what people see when they complain about capitalism. I think that's where they complain, or I think they can complain about it the most, is where, I think capitalism is great, but it does become a problem when everyone's, going after the same pie, wanting the slice for themselves, and no one wants to give credit where credit's due. It's like everyone's trying to
there's
be
that good, there's that you're giving everyone that drive,
Right.
but then there's also, you're like, well, I'm not as good as that person, so I gotta like do something shady to advance myself.
And that's where competition, I think, is, good to a degree, where it's like it gets the best out of everybody, but at the same time, I don't like it when credit's not given to where it originated. Oh, did you ever watch that movie yet, the Founder with McDonald's?
No.
Yeah, that's like a classic
it's on my
case.
watch list.
Classic case of that scenario, where it's like the originators of the McDonald's system, idea, everything. Yeah, they basically lost it all to someone else who just basically took it.
And all you have to do is like teamwork.
Yeah, well, and it's
like if it's a $10 billion company, it's like I'm okay with 5. There's something cool. I read this. Wesley Matthews used to play for the Jazz, and he was undrafted. The Utah Jazz took like a chance on him, developed him, and he was really good. And then like the next year, he leaves for this big contract with the Trailblazers. And John Stockton, who was with the Jazz forever, my favorite Jazz player of all time. And he's actually a really cool guy. Everything I've heard of him, but He had an interview and he was like, well, when's enough?
Right.
He's like, I got tons of offers for more money, but it was like, no, like I owed it to the Jazz to stay with them. Like I could have left and made more money somewhere else, but when's enough of money enough? Like you got 10 million here, or I can get 12 million there. Like
what's the difference?
Yeah. Instead, the Jazz drafted me. They're the ones that developed me. They made me who I was. And so I owe it to them to stay with them.
That's
and
actually
I feel like
a really nice idea. Yeah.
Yeah. That mindset is pretty rare, I think.
I think it is too, where it's like, that's more of that cooperative rather than competitive nature, I guess, where it's, he's not with the...
But imagine what the world would be if everybody thought like that.
Yeah, more cooperative. It's like, or if you did something like, that's a really good idea. It's like, well, it's actually from him, and he actually, was his idea, and I just kind of built on it. No one does that. They say, yeah, that's my idea all the way. Only one here with that brain.
And when people do that, it really bugs
you
me.
because it's not just them.
You're like, that wasn't you.
Right.
Like, is your confidence so low that you have to take on this?
Yeah, it's like, that was not all you. It's like, you're
working on a group project, and another one has to say everything, and like, so when I was doing this, and you're like, you actually didn't help at all.
Yeah, this is a we thing,
because I have something at work right now that we were given an assignment, me and 2 other people, and the one person was like, I don't have enough time. And so they unassigned themselves from that project.
Right.
And as soon as we got like a lot of the legwork done and we're getting meetings with like the hires up, she's like, I have time, and like came back and like is wanting to help. But it's like
all good.
Yeah.
It's like, I've been here the whole time. We've been working real hard on this. You're like,
but when I talked about the Buddhism earlier, like I believe in karma. I feel like
I think you
give out good to the world, good comes back. Eventually.
I think there is. Eventually, that's the hard part with me. That's
you gotta be like, maybe it's in the next life that comes.
Maybe it's when I'm a cow.
Like the person that like jumps in front of a bus to push you out of the way and they get ran over and they die. Like obviously, karma didn't work out for them, but maybe in the next life. But I think in general though, like
story right there,
and it could be like not even like personal karma. It could just be that when you do more good in the world, it makes people happy. It makes other good more possible. But if we start all doing negative, we all start competing, we're not cooperative, that's when like negativity spreads and it's infectious, right? I feel like good can be infectious as well. Kind of like the Pay It Forward movie, if you ever watched that. But like you do something good, you pay it forward to the next person, they pay it the next, and it blossoms and everyone's doing good deeds to each other.
I agree with that. That is a very positive way to look at life. And
but there's some people that
just
they're never going to do it like that.
Well, and I don't know why. Well, and people say, money is a problem, but I think it's just selfish greed. Because, I mean, even if money wasn't involved, I mean, people can still be selfish and greedy.
Yeah, they wouldn't do it for the notoriety or whatever benefit they're getting.
Whatever
they
is
want.
considered, socially most valuable, they could make it, sugar or salt or whatever. And, they could go after that forever.
Yeah,
it
you
doesn't
talked
have
about
to be money.
The tribes that don't use any units of measurement. They
Right.
probably don't have
They don't
money
care about
units
money.
of
Yeah.
measurement.
But they probably still have people that are greedy and selfish and, fighting each other over whose stick is whose.
Mm-hmm.
Whose rock is whose? That's my rock.
That's my girl.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, so that went a long way off daylight savings time.
Yeah, but I like the turns. That was
good. That was some good turns. Some
and
good
I feel
stuff.
like if one person is like, I'm gonna be less of a douchebag.
It was worth it.
It was worth it.
All worth it. So everyone who listens to this,
And I'm
right.
nowhere near perfect. To throw that out.
Yeah,
I can be awfully douchey.
Well, that's
I hope I'm not too douchey,
we
though.
can chit chat that another time.
Let's just go over all the douchebag things we've done. And like the hard thing is I'll remember those things that I've done
I can't remember
forever.
too many. Like, I don't know if it's just because I've gotten older and I just don't think about the past enough.
I could just start naming them off the top of my head.
I know, but you've named.
I get forever guilt for it. Like I'll do something really small, and like forever down the line, I'll just think of it like, oh man,
why did I ever do that?
I'm gonna have to start like writing it down and like calling them up randomly and being like, hey man, remember that time? I'm really sorry. Like I felt really bad at the time, but I didn't want to say anything, and it's just been eating me up alive.
Yeah, I've just been feeling. Yeah, I do that probably from omission more than commission. Where it's like, I kind of like fade away from something that I was
Like
doing.
I should have said something.
Yeah. But then it's like to go back now and say, I feel like that would just dig up a bunch of different. It's like,
Yeah,
what?
like,
I should
actually
have done
forgot
that.
about that.
I felt really bad that I didn't do something during that time. And they're like, yeah, you jerk. Why didn't you do anything? It's like, I don't know. I was scared or this or that or whatever. But, and those is like, yeah, I don't know. That's where I feel like I find that kind of I don't know what to do with that. Where it's like, is it worth going in and saying what you should have said at the time and then like rekindle all those horrible emotions? Or is it worth just waiting for another opportunity to say it or something?
And that's what I'm trying to get. Like we talked about it
I don't know.
earlier in the previous podcast, but that's why I feel like I'm trying to get myself to where I'm not afraid to approach people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I can still be nice about it and do things like that. But if I saw someone being a jerk to their spouse or something like that, I'd be like, hey, that's not really a good way to treat people. Like you should love them. Like I think when people really like bag on their spouses, like that's something me and my wife don't really do. Like I'm not just gonna sit there and complain about her. Like I'll say something little like, oh man, she spends money. Like, oh, I can't. But like, I'm not really going to be like, oh, I hate when I do this. I'm like, because I was out golfing with some buddies and they were just sitting there bagging on their wives. And I was like, she's pretty cool. And if she did something wrong, like that's probably between us.
Right. And that's.
So I think it'd be cool to like step in and be like, she does a lot of good things too. Or being like, I don't really know that person. And so the only viewpoint I'm getting of them is they're like garbage.
Right.
Like, because they bash on them so much, be like, I don't think it's fair for them that I'm getting this negative view for them. And they don't even have a chance to like stand up for themselves.
It's true. Yeah, that gossip kind of idea.
I did say something to somebody once when we were at a family reunion and I have like a relative that was like about to go through a divorce. And this person was talking to me and they're like really going into it. And I was like, they're right there and they can hear you. And even if they can't hear you, other people can hear you. And I don't feel comfortable with this conversation.
Yeah.
And like they kept talking about it. I was like, I'm going to go. And I stood up and left.
I felt that way with. Did we run out of space? Oh my gosh. We ran out of space on the card. So the end of this podcast will not have a video. Unless we cut it down, I guess we could. Well, no, it still won't
we can
have
just
a video.
fade out to our chit chat that screen.
There you go. Yeah, we'll just have a chit chat that screen right now.
Yeah. But
So
that
it'll
tells
be
us
like-
we got to end.
Yeah,
I could have gone on with this forever.
Yeah, I know.
We should have one with just like feel goods and we talk about things
I
that would
noticed you've
fix
been.
the world.
I noticed on Twitter you've been like liking or talking about like the feel good stuff.
And like I'm trying to like promote positivity because I feel like we only like retweet like things Donald Trump says or like
Yeah.
reactions to other people that are like, oh, this is so stupid, or yeah, screw these people and their beliefs. But I feel like, oh, that was kind of cool. That turtle turned the other turtle over.
I did think that was cool too. I thought that was funny.
But then I was also like, why isn't the camera guy doing it?
Yeah.
He just kind of watched
Wait
it.
a
I was
minute.
like, that turtle is like freaking out because it's like, I'm going to die. I'm never going to turn over. Like,
Yeah.
and the guy just filming is like, I wonder if this turtle's going to turn him over. Or maybe the turtle already turned him over and he went and turned him onto his back and he's like, all right, now I'll pull out my
I
video
just got
camera.
an idea for a poll. We're going to do it. I'll tell you about it afterwards. All right. So this is the end of our Chit Chat That podcast for today or tonight, whenever you listen to this.
Yeah, we're not recording anymore today because
No, this is the end.
I'm probably in trouble. So
I think I'm in trouble too. My wife sent me a text. Anyway, so
and she has every right to be, and so does my wife.
right.
We
And
spent
I'm
too
not
long
saying
on
there's
this.
a problem with this. I'm saying we've got a problem, and we're gonna figure this out.
It's just so fun to do.
It is. And
Maybe
we're
a
gonna-
good
we're gonna
compromise.
get it
We'll
out
have
there.
them come with us. My kids really want to try talking into the
Do they
mic
want to?
and being in the photo. Maybe we'll do like a podcast where we interview little kids.
Oh, there we go.
That'd be fun.
Could try that. Alrighty. That's Chit Chat That.
This is John.
This is Stefan.
For daily updates, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Don't miss out on the next Chit Chat That.